Hello children, myself teacher Suma here. Welcome back to English class. So children, in the previous class we had started the new prose, the third prose from your English textbook, Gentlemen of Rio and Medio, written by Juan A. Cedillo. So here in this prose you came to know that this prose is a story of a gentleman who lived in Rio and Medio. So, in this prose, in last 3 paragraphs, you came to know that the person lived in what kind of place and also his appearance. So today we shall move to the next session. In the sense, we shall move to the 4th paragraph. So here in the 4th paragraph, we see there was a great deal of conversation about Rain and his family. He was very proud of his large family. Finally, we got down to business. Yes, he would sell as he had agreed for $1,200 in cash. We would buy and the money was ready. Don Anselmo, I said to him in Spanish, we have made a discovery. You remember that we sent that surveyor, that engineer up there to survey your land so as to make the deed. Well, he finds that you own more than 8 acres. He tells us that your land extends across the river and that you own almost twice as much as you thought. He didn't know that, and now Don Anselmo, I added. These Americans are buona gente. They are good people, and they are willing to pay you for the additional land as well at the same rate per acre. So that instead of $1,200, you will get almost twice as much, and the money is here for you. So children, here in the 4th paragraph we see the gentleman, he went to office in order to make a deal, sign an agreement of selling his property. So when he went inside the office, before stepping into the main talk, here in order to make themselves comfortable, there was a great deal of conversation about Rain and his family. So children, whenever we meet our friends or relatives or any other person, before we come to the point of the subject, we speak something else. We engage ourselves in other conversation. So same thing happened here. There was a great deal of conversation, the process of conversation about Rain and his family. He was very proud of his large family. Here he refers to whom? Here he refers to the gentleman. Finally, we got down to business. After speaking about Rain and his family, everything, finally they came to the point for which they had come there. Yes, he would sell as he had agreed for $1,200 in cash. He would sell. Who would sell? The gentleman. Okay, earlier the gentleman had agreed in order to sell his property for $1,200, that too in cash. We would buy. Here we refers to whom? The author as well as the fish, as well as the people who were ready to purchase the land there. We would buy and the money was ready. And the money was also ready. So, Don Anselmo, I said to him in Spanish. So, children, here we come to know the name of The gentleman is nothing but Anselmo. Here, the writer, the author, address the gentleman as Don Anselmo. Here, Don means in Spanish the title of respect, much like Sir in English, which means Sir Anselmo. I said to him in Spanish. Here, I refers to the author Juan A. Cedillo. We have made a discovery. What is the writer saying here? He is saying, we have made a discovery. What is discovery? Which means they have found something. You remember that we sent that surveyor, that engineer up there to survey your land so as to make the deed. So children, before purchasing the land, so a person before purchasing the land will first examine the land which he is going to purchase. The same thing happened here. Here, these people also sent the surveyor, the engineer, in order to survey the land. So, before coming to an agreement. So, after the agreement, he finds that you own more than 8 acres. So, here we see that Don Anselmo, he was knowing that he was owing only 8 acres of land. But after the survey, he came to know. In the sense, the author says that you own more than 8 acres. He tells us that your land extends across the river and that you own almost twice as much as you thought. So children, earlier Don Anselmo, before the survey, he thought only he owned 8 acres of land. But after the survey, the author is saying, Don Anselmo, that you not only own 8 acres but also twice than that, which means 16 acres of land. He didn't know that, and now Don Anselmo, I added. These Americans are buona gente. They are good people and they are willing to pay you for the additional land as well at the same rate per acre. So that instead of $1,200, you will get almost twice as much, and the money is here for you, says the author here. So here, addressing to Don Anselmo, the writer says here, these Americans are buona gente, which means they are good people. How can we say that these Americans are good people? So, here the Americans agreed in order to purchase the land, 8 acres of land, for $1,200 from Don Anselmo. So, after the survey, Americans came to know that the land which they are going to purchase, it is twice more than 8 acres. So, Americans, they thought of saying, revealing the truth, this truth to Don Anselmo. By this, we come to know they are good people, and also they are willing to pay the additional amount for the additional land as well at the same rate per acre. By this, we come to know the Americans are good people. They are good people. If they were bad, they would have never revealed this truth. Yes, so by this we come to know the Americans are good people. So that instead of $1,200, you will get almost twice as much, and the money is here for you. The author says, the Americans, as they are good people, they have agreed in order to pay you the extra money for the extra land you own, and the money is ready for you. says the author. The old man, in the 5th paragraph, we see children, the old man hung his head for a moment in thought. Then he stood up and stared at me. Friend, he said, I do not like to have you speak to me in that manner. I kept still and let him have his say. So, the old man hung his head for a moment in thought. The old man, Don Anselmo, he started to think for a moment. Okay, he started to think for a moment in thought. Then he stood up and stared at me. Here me refers to the author. Friend, he said. He addressed, Don Anselmo addressed the author as friend. I do not like to have you speak to me in that manner. Here, Don Anselmo did not like the way the author spoke to him. So, as soon as the author heard this sentence, in the sense, this speech, he kept still and let him have his say. He kept still means he kept silent, he was quiet, and he thought that let him say what he is willing to say. I know these Americans are good people, and that is why I have agreed to sell to them. But I do not care to be insulted. I have agreed to sell my house and land for $1,200, and that is the price, says Don Anselmo. So here, when the author told Don Anselmo that the money is ready for you, for twice the amount is ready for you for the extra land. So here, listening this, Don Anselmo, he didn't feel good. He was not happy that he is going to get extra money. He kept still. He was quiet and next he said to the author that I know these Americans are good people. He was knowing that Americans are good people, and that is why I have agreed to sell to them. That is why, as I know that these Americans are good people, that is why I have agreed to sell them my property. And he says, but I do not care to be insulted. So here, when the author told Don Anselmo with regard to the extra money for the extra land, here we see the gentleman Don Anselmo, he thought he was insulted. Okay, he says, I do not care to be insulted. He was not happy to take the extra money. He says that I am insulted. He says then I have agreed to sell my house and land for $1,200, and that is the price. That is the price. So earlier what he had agreed, he thought it was only 8 acres, and he agreed in order to sell his property and land for $1,200, and that is the price I am going to take. I am not going to take extra money for the extra land, said the gentleman Don Anselmo. In the 6th paragraph, I argued with him, but it was useless. Finally, he signed the deed and took the money, but refused to take more than the amount agreed upon. Then he shook hands all round, put on his ragged gloves, took his stick and walked out with the boy behind. So here in the 6th paragraph we see, children, the first line, I argued with him, but it was useless. Here I refers to whom? The author. And him refers to Don Anselmo. Here the author requested, in the sense he insisted Don Anselmo to take the extra money for the extra land, but it was Useless. Finally, he signed the deed. Who signed the deed? Don Anselmo signed the agreement and took the money. What amount he took? He took $1,200, for which he had agreed earlier, but he refused to take more than the amount agreed upon. Then, after the agreement, after taking money, he shook hands all around. He shook his hands to all, put on his ragged gloves. Again, he wore the torn gloves, took his stick, and walked out with the boy behind. Took his stick, which means the cane of in the sense, the skeleton of an worn out umbrella. So, and walked with the boy behind. So, children, here we complete the second session. We'll continue the next part in the next session.